Hi, welcome to Community Connection. I'm Mark Dottie, station manager for RPV TV, and today I'm stepping out of the studio to show you how not only can you prevent forest fires, but goats can prevent brush fires right here at City Hall. Okay, I'm standing here with George Gonzalez of, what's the name of your company?
Rancho Tiva Boar Goats in Chino, California.
And what does your company do?
We do brush control for all the cities in Los Angeles, Southern California, and for HOAs. And right now we're working for Rancho Palos Verdes right now, doing a pilot program to show them how it's done.
Yeah, what were some of your concerns in bringing goats here?
We were concerned with the public's reaction to the goats. That's one of the reasons we wanted them here at City Hall within 10 feet of our office windows, so that we could get a first-hand view of an, if you will, olfactory notification of just how offensive goats could be. So far, we don't even notice them. We can detect the smell of hay, the alfalfa, but that's it. The goats are very, apparently very clean, and they make very little noise.
Well, these goats are, like I say, deer. They do not smell. People always think they smell. Only cows and chickens and pigs smell. These are biodegradable waste from them. It goes into the ground, and it's just like rabbit pellets. There's nothing that smells around them.
Okay, so there isn't a big waste issue once you get goats in?
No, there's a very, very clean animal, and they just move on. They're like the browsers. They'll eat everything, but they'll leave some for later on.
What's their favorite food? Their
favorite food, believe it or not, is poison oak. They love poison oak and cactus and rose bushes and palm trees.
And what's the thing that they can't eat?
Oleander plant, they cannot have that. We have to watch that out in the field there. And latana plant also, we don't have to eat that too much. Not good. We're using 50 goats here right now, but we have over 300 goats to use of other projects.
And where do the goats find home? What do they call home?
Their home is in Chino, but they come actually from South Africa. They're a boar goat that's it's for brush, and they're a hardy animal. And they withstand a lot of heat, and they're not for milking. It's just strictly a brush animal.
Okay. And why would somebody choose to have the goats come out over any of the other options? And what are those other options?
The other option is they use petroleum products with weed whackers or Roundup with poison for the ground and the water. But this is a natural thing that used in the old days. These used grazing animals. The old-fashioned way is the old-fashioned way, but it's the best way now. And the price are different.
Okay. And what will it prevent by having the animals out here? What's the goal?
The goal here is to give a defensible fire space between the building and 200 feet down the terrain. If the fire comes, the fireman has a chance to put the fire out, or people can evacuate. That's the old theory of this brush control business.
Okay. And what's some funny things that have happened while working with the goats out on your different projects?
Well, I took a few hundred goats to San Diego, and they're like deer. They're cousins to the deer. They start having babies. I forgot they were pregnant, and they're hiding the babies under the trees. I was like an Easter egg hunt. I was trying to find them all. I had about 80 babies born out on the range.
All right, now I'm here with Ron Dragoo, senior engineer with the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. What was your involvement with getting goats here on city property?
Well, the city received an order from the fire marshal to do brush clearance, so they call it a fuel modification. The purpose of that order is to help safeguard structures in the city. And property owners that have land that abuts structures within 200 feet or so of the structure need to clear brush away from the structure so that in the event of a wildfire, there's less fuel available for the wildfire. So we got the order. We looked at having the brush cleared away from the hillsides, and the costs to do that were staggering. We came at a later date, and investigated the goats, and it was feasible at about a third of the cost of using human power. And
which is what? What do you mean by human power? What are the other options?
Having like gardeners come in with weed whackers and chainsaws and clear away the brush essentially trampling whatever is in their path to remove the fuel. So the goats we're finding, or we're doing a pilot project here to determine the impact that the goats have in their fuel modification efforts.
The city kind of approached the whole fuel modification and said that they want to do something environmentally friendly and cost effective. And one of the options, just researching the options we had out there, was goats. They seem to be the most eco-friendly and cost effective.
So how did you come about them? How did you figure that out?
Well, actually Google searching goats for fuel modification, LA County Fire Department came up, and they have a goat vendor list that they came up with in 2006, and this was one of the goat vendors on there, and there are only 2 of them in Southern California that currently do this. And
Some heavy competition between the 2 of them?
no, not at all. They're actually good friends. But we got in touch with George, and I went down there and spoke to him, and just to see exactly what it's all about, and it seemed pretty reasonable.
So you knew about the goats before you contacted them? You knew that goats were a possibility?
Yes, definitely. I did a lot of research beforehand before even venturing into it. I'd rather do all my due diligence before that, and then once we actually get into it, find out the minor details, and then costs and all that sort of thing. And yeah, this is it today.
And what do you think? What's your opinion of what's going on here?
I think it's fantastic. I think we've covered all our bases. We've covered the eco-friendly part of it. It's very cost-effective. It's a lot cheaper than manual labor, and it's also a good spectacle. It's good for people to come out and take a look in LA and see a few things.
And it's directly outside of your window, right? You're seeing the goats.
Yeah, my office is right there. I placed them there so I could look at them all day.
You know, we have this 1,200-acre nature preserve that the city has made up of several properties, and the city is responsible for doing the fuel mod work, that is keeping the brush clear from the buildings. And so what we have to do is make sure that that's done in a way that's respectful to the preserve. And the typical traditional way is to use heavy machinery or crews to go in here. We looked at goats about 2 or 3 years ago as a possibility of using goats to clear the brush, but there were a lot of logistic questions that came up of how the goats get here, where do they sleep, how do you keep them contained, because what's very critical in the preserve property is that they only eat the brush that's required to be cleared and not the preserved plants. And so that's why we didn't pursue the idea a couple of years ago. Now this year the issue came up again, and Public Works said, well, what about goats? And we said, you know, we looked at it in the past, but there were issues, and they pursued it, and apparently they found an individual who can deploy the goats here in a manner that they can be contained and still achieve the fuel mod.
Fuel mod, what does that mean?
Fuel mod is fuel modification is the requirement of the fire department to have a certain amount of brush clearance between the buildings and an open space. It's for defensible space for fires. So typically that ranges anywhere from 50 to 200 feet from the structure. In this case, they've asked us to do, I think, 200 feet from the City Hall building down the slope. So that's what the goats are trying to do, clear that area.